Rene Guenon and the Perennial Philosophy. Rene Guenon, 1886–1951, was a French metaphysician, philosopher, and author known for his profound influence on the traditionalist school of thought. His works were mainly focused on the principles of metaphysics, the perennial philosophy, and the critique of the modern world. As an advocate of the perennial philosophy, Guenon emphasized the universality of religious truth and the need to preserve traditional wisdom in the face of growing secularism and materialism in the Western world. Guénon was born in Blois, France, and showed a deep interest in spiritual and philosophical matters from an early age. He initially pursued studies in mathematics and philosophy, but his interests eventually led him to explore a wide range of subjects, including Eastern and Western religious traditions, esotericism, and symbolism. One of the central tenets of Guénon's thought is the perennial philosophy, also known as the primordial tradition. This concept posits that there exists a universal and timeless wisdom underlying all genuine religious and spiritual traditions. According to Guénon, the perennial philosophy is the source of truth that transcends cultural, historical, and geographical boundaries. It is characterized by metaphysical principles that remain constant and unchanging, despite the diversity of their manifestations in different religious and spiritual traditions. Guénon's critique of the modern world is rooted in his belief that Western society has lost its connection with the perennial philosophy, leading to the decline of spirituality and the rise of materialism. He argued that the modern world is marked by a fundamental disorder, as it prioritizes quantitative and utilitarian values over qualitative and spiritual ones. In his works, such as The Crisis of the Modern World, and The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, Guénon exposed the dangers of this materialistic mindset and called for a return to traditional wisdom and spiritual values. Throughout his life, Guénon sought to re-establish the link between the Western world and the perennial philosophy by studying various religious traditions, both Eastern and Western. He was particularly drawn to Hinduism, Taoism, and Sufism, eventually converting to Islam and adopting the name, Abd al-Wahid Yahya. His writings on these subjects, including Man and His Becoming According to the Vedanta, The Symbolism of the Cross, and Insights into Islamic Esotericism, aimed to demonstrate the universality and interconnectedness of these traditions and their shared foundation in the perennial philosophy. In addition to his metaphysical and philosophical writings, Guénon also explored the esoteric dimensions of various traditions, delving into subjects such as sacred geometry, symbolism, and initiation. His works on these topics, like The Great Triad and Symbols of Sacred Science, aim to reveal the deeper, hidden meanings within religious and spiritual systems and to foster an understanding of the transcendent unity that underlies them. Rene Guénon's influence on the traditionalist school and the study of comparative religion is undeniable. His works have inspired many thinkers, including Frithjof Schuon, Ananda Coomaraswamy, and Julius Evola, who have contributed to the development of the traditionalist perspective. Through his writings, Guénon emphasized the importance of returning to the universal, timeless wisdom of the perennial philosophy in order to restore balance, meaning, and spirituality to the modern world. Rene Guénon's The Crisis of the Modern World, a critique of Western materialism. Rene Guénon's seminal work, The Crisis of the Modern World, serves as a profound critique of the materialism, secularism, and rationalism that have come to dominate Western civilization. As a key figure in the traditionalist school, Guénon emphasizes the importance of understanding and reconnecting with the perennial philosophy, which he believes underlies all authentic spiritual traditions. In this book, Guénon presents a scathing analysis of modernity, highlighting the urgent need for a return to traditional values and spiritual wisdom. The Crisis of the Modern World is divided into four main sections: the Dark Age, the Posthumous Man, the Fissures in the Great Wall, and the End of a World. Each section delves into different aspects of the decline of the modern world, illustrating the spiritual and cultural crisis that has resulted from the rejection of traditional wisdom. In the first section, Guénon discusses the concept of the Kali Yuga or Dark Age, a Hindu concept referring to the final stage of a cyclical process in which spiritual and moral values deteriorate. He argues that the modern world is experiencing the effects of this age, marked by rampant materialism, individualism, and a loss of transcendent meaning. The disintegration of traditional values has led to a fragmented society, characterized by the pursuit of quantity over quality and the exaltation of the ego. In the second section, Guénon introduces the idea of the posthumous man, referring to a human being who has become disconnected from his spiritual essence and is solely focused on material existence. This disconnection has resulted in a loss of understanding of the higher realities and a descent into a purely profane existence, where the individual is ruled by ego and passions rather than guided by spiritual wisdom. The third section, The Fissures in the Great Wall, delves into the erosion of traditional barriers that once protected spiritual truths from being profaned. Guénon argues that the advent of modernity has led to the infiltration of anti-traditional forces, resulting in the decline of authentic spiritual knowledge and the distortion of religious teachings. He also discusses the role of secret societies and their influence on the modern world, suggesting that they have contributed to the undermining of traditional values. In the final section, The End of a World, Guénon outlines the consequences of the crisis of the modern world and offers a vision of potential restoration. He emphasizes the importance of recognizing the signs of the times, as they point to the need for a return to traditional wisdom and a reorientation towards spiritual values. He also suggests that the end of the current age may be the catalyst for a new cycle, in which humanity can rediscover its spiritual roots and regain a sense of meaning and purpose. Throughout the crisis of the modern world, Rene Guenon presents a powerful critique of the materialism and secularism that dominate Western culture. His call for a return to traditional wisdom and spiritual values serves as a timely reminder of the essential role that the perennial philosophy plays in guiding humanity towards its higher potential. In the face of the modern world's disarray, Guénon's work serves as a beacon of hope, urging individuals to reconnect with their spiritual essence and restore balance and meaning to their lives. Rene Guénon's The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, a critical examination of modernity and materialism in The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times. Rene Guenon, a prominent metaphysician and traditionalist, presents a profound critique of the modern world, characterized by its pervasive materialism and rationalism. As a follow-up to his earlier work, The Crisis of the Modern World, Guénon delves deeper into the manifestations of modernity and highlights the urgent need for a return to traditional wisdom and spiritual insight. In this seminal work, he dissects the consequences of the modern world's prioritization of quantity over quality and offers a vision for the restoration of spiritual balance. Guénon's analysis begins by examining the shift in focus from quality to quantity, a defining characteristic of the modern world. He argues that this obsession with quantification has led to the loss of the qualitative aspects of existence, such as spiritual, moral, and aesthetic values. This materialistic worldview, in turn, has given rise to a fragmented and superficial understanding of reality, causing a disconnection from the transcendent principles that underlie all authentic spiritual traditions. In The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, Guénon also discusses the concept of the solidification of the world, referring to the increasing materialization of existence and the consequent loss of contact with higher realities. This process has led to the degeneration of traditional metaphysical knowledge and a spiritual amnesia that has enveloped humanity. The modern world's reductionist approach, which attempts to explain all phenomena through material and mechanistic principles, has further exacerbated this spiritual disconnection. One of the key themes in Guénon's work is the critique of the modern scientific worldview. He argues that modern science, with its exclusive focus on empirical and quantitative data, has led to the loss of the holistic and qualitative understanding of reality found in traditional metaphysical knowledge. Moreover, he contends that the modern scientific method, with its insistence on constant progress and innovation, has contributed to the destabilization of traditional values and the promotion of a materialistic and utilitarian perspective on life. As he explores the various manifestations of the reign of quantity, Guénon also examines the influence of the modern world on art, language, and education. He contends that the degradation of these essential aspects of human culture has led to the impoverishment of the human spirit and the alienation of the individual from the deeper dimensions of existence. In the final section of the book, Guénon offers a vision for the restoration of spiritual balance and the reintegration of traditional wisdom into the modern world. He emphasizes the importance of recognizing the signs of the times, which indicate the need for humanity to return to its spiritual roots and rediscover the metaphysical principles that underlie all genuine spiritual traditions. By reconnecting with this traditional wisdom, individuals can restore a sense of meaning and purpose to their lives and contribute to the regeneration of a spiritually impoverished world. In conclusion, Rene Guénon's The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times presents a compelling and incisive critique of the modern world's materialism and rationalism. By highlighting the urgent need for a return to traditional wisdom and spiritual insight, Guénon offers a timely and valuable message for those seeking to navigate the challenges and complexities of the contemporary world. He was a French metaphysician, author, and intellectual who wrote extensively on traditionalist philosophy and spirituality. He was known for his deep understanding of esoteric traditions, including Sufism, Hinduism, and Taoism. Guénon was a member of several esoteric organizations throughout his life, including the Theosophical Society, the Freemasons, and the Universal Gnostic Church. He was also associated with the Traditionalist school, a group of thinkers who sought to preserve the timeless wisdom of traditional societies. In terms of religion, Guénon converted to Sufism in the 1910s and spent the rest of his life studying and writing about the Islamic spiritual tradition. However, he also had an interest in other religions and was critical of modernity's rejection of traditional spirituality. Guénon's writings were highly influential in the development of the Traditionalist school, as well as in the wider esoteric and spiritual communities. Rene Guenon was highly critical of theosophy, which he regarded as a distorted form of esotericism that was misleading and spiritually dangerous. Guénon argued that theosophy was essentially a form of pseudo-esotericism that was a product of the modern Western mindset and had little or no connection to authentic esoteric traditions. In his view, theosophy represented a kind of spiritual materialism that reduced spiritual truths to simplistic and superficial concepts that were designed to appeal to a mass audience. Guenon believed that theosophy had contributed to the decline of traditional spirituality in the West by promoting a shallow and materialistic approach to spiritual matters, and he urged those who were interested in genuine esotericism to avoid theosophy and other similar movements. Basic introductions to his books: Introduction to the Study of the Hindu Doctrines, a comprehensive overview of Hinduism and its fundamental teachings. Theosophy, History of a Pseudo-Religion, an examination of the history and flaws of theosophy as a pseudo-religion. The Spiritist Fallacy, a critique of the belief in Spiritism and its claims of communication with the dead. East and West, an exploration of the differences and similarities between Eastern and Western philosophies. Man and His Becoming According to the Vedanta, a study of the Vedanta philosophy and its teachings on the nature of man and the universe. The Esotericism of Dante, a discussion of the esoteric elements and symbolism found in Dante's works. The King of the World, a mystical exploration of the concept of a world ruler in various cultures and religions. The Crisis of the Modern World, a critical analysis of modern society and its crisis from a traditionalist perspective. Spiritual Authority and Temporal Power, a philosophical examination of the relationship between spiritual authority and temporal power. Saint Bernard, a biographical study of the life and works of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. The Symbolism of the Cross, an exploration of the symbolism and significance of the cross in various traditions and religions. The Multiple States of the Being, an investigation of the different levels and states of being in various spiritual traditions. Oriental Metaphysics, a study of metaphysical concepts and teachings in Eastern philosophies and religions. The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, a critical analysis of modernity and its impact on society and culture. Perspectives on Initiation, an exploration of the concept of initiation in various spiritual and religious traditions. The Metaphysical Principles of the Infinitesimal Calculus, an analysis of the metaphysical principles underlying infinitesimal calculus. The Great Triad, a study of the three fundamental principles in traditional metaphysics and their relationship to the cosmos. Initiation and Spiritual Realization, an examination of the process of initiation and spiritual realization in various traditions and religions. Insights into Christian Esotericism, a study of esoteric teachings and symbolism in Christianity. Symbols of Sacred Science, an exploration of the symbolism and meaning of sacred science in various traditions and religions. Studies in Freemasonry and Compagnonnage, an investigation of the history and teachings of Freemasonry and Compagnonnage. Studies in Hinduism, an in-depth study of various aspects of Hinduism, including its history, philosophy, and symbolism. Traditional Forms and Cosmic Cycles, a study of traditional forms and their relationship to cosmic cycles in various traditions and religions. Insights into Islamic Esotericism and Taoism, an examination of esoteric teachings and practices in Islam and Taoism. Reviews, a collection of book reviews and critiques by Rene Guenon. Miscellanea, a collection of various essays and articles written by Rene Guenon. Rene Guenon had a deep interest in metaphysics and believed that it was the highest form of knowledge, as it deals with the ultimate nature of reality. He believed that metaphysical truths were universal and transcended any particular religion or culture. Regarding Hindu metaphysics, Guenon believed that it provided a comprehensive and coherent framework for understanding the nature of reality, including the individual soul and its relationship to the ultimate reality, Brahman. He saw Hinduism as a primordial tradition that contained the highest metaphysical knowledge. In terms of Islamic metaphysics, Guenon was critical of what he saw as a trend toward literalism and legalism in Islam, which he believed had obscured its deeper metaphysical teachings. He saw the esoteric dimension of Islam as essential for understanding its true nature, and he wrote extensively about Sufism and Islamic mysticism. He believed that the teachings of Islam, properly understood, contain the same universal metaphysical truths found in other traditions. The Symbolism of the Cross is a book by Rene Guenon, first published in French in 1931. In this book, Guenon explores the symbolism of the cross in various religions, including Christianity, Hinduism, and ancient Egypt. He argues that the cross is a universal symbol of a higher reality, a gateway between the spiritual and material worlds. Guenon examines the cross in relation to the symbolism of the four elements, as well as its connection to the tree of life and the esoteric meaning of the crucifixion. The Multiple States of Being is a book by Rene Guenon, first published in French in 1932. In this book, Guenon explores the idea of multiple states of being beyond the physical realm, including the subtle and causal states. He argues that these states are not merely abstractions or mental constructs, but are ontologically real and accessible through spiritual practice. Guenon examines these states in various religious traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sufism. He also explores the relationship between these states and mystical experiences, such as visions and revelations. Overall, the book is a deep exploration of the nature of reality beyond the physical world. Rene Guénon's views on initiation are central to his philosophy and can be found in several of his works, including Introduction to the Study of the Hindu Doctrines, Perspectives on Initiation, and Initiation and Spiritual Realization. According to Guénon, initiation is a process of transformation that leads to spiritual realization and union with the divine. Initiation is not a matter of external ritual or ceremony, but rather an inward journey that involves the awakening of spiritual awareness and the development of higher consciousness. Guénon believed that initiation is not limited to any one tradition or religion but is a universal principle that can be found in all genuine spiritual paths. However, he also believed that the true esoteric or initiatic aspect of a tradition is often hidden and can only be transmitted from master to disciple through an unbroken chain of initiation. For Guénon, the goal of initiation is not personal enlightenment or liberation, but rather the realization of the universal truth and the establishment of a harmonious relationship between the individual and the divine order. In this sense, initiation is not an end in itself but a means to an end, a way of preparing oneself for spiritual service and contributing to the greater good. Guénon's views on initiation have had a significant impact on the esoteric and spiritual communities, and his works continue to be studied and debated by scholars and practitioners of various traditions. Rene Guénon wrote extensively on the subject of the Hindu cosmic cycles, or Yugas, in several of his works, including The Crisis of the Modern World, The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, and Traditional Forms and Cosmic Cycles. According to Hindu tradition, the world goes through a series of 4 yugas, or ages, that follow each other in a cyclical pattern: the Satya Yuga, or Krita Yuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dvapara Yuga, and the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga is considered the darkest and most corrupt of the 4 ages, and is said to be the current age we are living in. Guénon viewed the Yuga concept as a universal doctrine of cosmic cycles, found in various forms in many different spiritual traditions, and not limited to Hinduism alone. He saw the Yuga doctrine as a way of understanding the cyclical nature of time and the evolution of the universe, both physically and spiritually. He believed that the Yuga doctrine provided a framework for understanding the overall direction of the universe, and the gradual decline and decay of the world as it moves further away from its spiritual source. Guénon argued that the Kali Yuga was characterized by a general decline in traditional values, and an increase in materialism, selfishness, and spiritual ignorance. He saw the modern world as a manifestation of the Kali Yuga, with its emphasis on material progress, scientific materialism, and the loss of spiritual values. According to Guénon, the Kali Yuga is a time of spiritual crisis, and the only way to transcend its limitations is through a return to traditional values and spiritual practices. Guénon also believed that the traditional spiritual sciences, such as alchemy, astrology, and esotericism, were particularly important in the Kali Yuga, as they provided a means of accessing spiritual knowledge and understanding in a world dominated by materialism and ignorance. He saw the study and practice of these sciences as a way of attaining inner transformation and spiritual realization in the midst of the Kali Yuga's spiritual darkness. Overall, Guénon's views on the Yugas reflect his broader philosophy of traditionalism, which emphasizes the importance of traditional values and spiritual practices in an age of materialism and spiritual decline. He saw the Yugas as a universal doctrine that provided a framework for understanding the cyclical nature of the universe, and the gradual decline of traditional values and spiritual knowledge over time. Rene Guénon's views on symbolism and the primordial tradition were central to his philosophy and can be found in many of his works, including The Symbolism of the Cross, and Symbols of Sacred Science. Guénon believed that there is a universal, metaphysical truth that has been passed down through various religious and cultural traditions over time. He referred to this as the primordial tradition, or the perennial philosophy, and saw it as a way to connect with the divine and gain knowledge of the higher realities beyond the material world. In Guénon's view, symbolism played a crucial role in transmitting this knowledge and revealing the hidden meanings behind religious and cultural practices. He believed that symbols were not just arbitrary representations, but rather had deep, universal meanings that were grounded in the metaphysical principles of the cosmos. By studying these symbols and their connections to the primordial tradition, one could gain insight into the nature of reality and the divine. Regarding the role of symbolism in religious and cultural traditions, Guénon argued that it was necessary for preserving the knowledge of the primordial tradition. However, he also believed that over time, many of these traditions had become corrupted and lost touch with their original symbolism and meanings. This was particularly true in the modern world, where materialism and secularism had eroded the spiritual significance of many cultural practices. Overall, Guénon's views on symbolism and the primordial tradition were an attempt to connect with the timeless truths of the cosmos and reveal the deeper meanings behind human experience. He saw these as essential elements of a truly spiritual life and a path to higher knowledge and understanding. In conclusion, Rene Guénon was a French philosopher and author who wrote extensively on topics such as symbolism, metaphysics, and the primordial tradition. In his most famous works, The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times, and The Crisis of the Modern World, Guenon argued that modern society had lost touch with the timeless wisdom of the ancient world, leading to a crisis of meaning and purpose. He believed that the world was in a state of decline, particularly in the current era known as the Kali Yuga, which he saw as a time of spiritual darkness and materialism. Guenon's emphasis on symbolism and the primordial tradition was central to his philosophy. He saw symbolism as a means of accessing deeper truths that are often hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. For Guenon, the primordial tradition referred to the universal spiritual knowledge that has been passed down through the ages, in various forms, by initiates and spiritual masters. One of Guenon's most important ideas was the concept of the intellectual elite, a group of individuals who are capable of understanding and preserving the primordial tradition. He believed that this elite was necessary to counteract the negative effects of modern society and to help guide humanity back to a more spiritual way of life. In his work on the Kali Yuga, Guenon argued that we are currently living in a time of great spiritual crisis, characterized by materialism, moral decay, and a general lack of spiritual values. He believed that this crisis was inevitable, given the cyclical nature of history, and that the only way to overcome it was through a return to traditional values and the rediscovery of the primordial tradition. Overall, Guenon's work emphasizes the importance of tradition, symbolism, and spirituality in an age dominated by materialism and rationalism. While his ideas have been controversial and sometimes difficult to understand, they continue to inspire and challenge readers to this day. Thank you for listening to my video essay on Rene Guenon. I hope it was informative. Please subscribe for more content like this.